much to say, so little time. If we bring the lights up, there may, I hope, be questions from the audience, and I'll be able to see if anybody's putting their hand up with a question, and there will no doubt be microphones en route to you if you have any questions from any of the panel. There's a question. Well, you pick them out because I can barely see.
Hi there, so my name's Damien Light. My question is around power generation and renewable energy. I had the privilege recently of going to Taipei in Taiwan, and the council there is investing in intelligent green housing, particularly for their estate housing. So all their buildings have solar panels, they're eco-efficient, and they're effectively self-contained power stations, so they completely run themselves.
What do they call that? Passive, eh?
Well, I think they called it intelligent design or intelligent, I can't remember the term we use for it, but really, really clever, and it's just one of those things I think we need to see more of, and I'm just interested in what we can do from a property point of view and a council point of view to make that the default, so that we're building better futures, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah, we have Daisy is a 9 Homestar property, and it has solar panels on the roof which power the common area, power the lift, power the common, what's the word I'm after? Sorry, completely failing to get that one. It's also providing the common central hot water heating. And then we've got a heat exchange system which enables us to manage the climate control by basically draws in cold air and exchanges it for the warm stuff to manage the heating process. It's been quite an exercise to achieve it, and the interesting thing is finding people in the market that value it, because you've got to trade off to a certain degree between that and what people are prepared to pay for and can afford in the affordable housing space. And Daisy's been an interesting experiment for us. How can you make that the standard? I guess it is about people actually demanding that in the marketplace, but also it comes down to scale, being able to do that so that you don't have to choose between a house or a sustainable house, so that actually you can afford something which is a house and it is sustainable.
I'll jump in for this one. Look, we've just done a housing development in Orake, not more than 5 kilometres along the waterfront here, and it was funded by the tribe, by Ngāti Whātua in Orake, and we developed 30 medium-density homes, and we have a philosophy about being sustainable and living that as a practice in its design and its concept, and actually in the way that people live. We've trialled, we've got the solar panels, but we've also got the Tesla. We're the first ones to trial the Tesla batteries in the home, and that has been fantastic. I think in terms of the design, we also wanted to make sure that it was appropriate for intergenerational living. It's cool that Nan lives with the kids, that lives with the grandkids, and they all grow up together. We also made sure that all of our planting was native plants, which we grew on our nursery, which is, obviously got a carbon footprint because it's only about 500 metres down the road. We also used swales because we wanted to make sure that when the water, any kind of stormwater, left those homes and that development, it would be clean, because that water was going into the Waitemata, and the Waitemata is our ancestor. So we were not happy that the idea that we would continually perpetuate polluting the Waitemata was not good. So we've been able to do that. The other thing, I think, is that we have set a housing standard for us that allows us to be the homes to be high quality. So we've had some really great architects come on board. We have had all of the best technology, because the other reality for us too was too many of our kids were being susceptible to what I call third world diseases, rheumatic fever as a result, or preventable illnesses as a result of mouldy, damp, cold homes is not a reality. I think the other intelligent part for what I think our tribal leaders have done is that you have to put some money in. If you want that to be the standard, that requires you to give something up. So the homes, the land that is on there for us, We put the land in and said it's an absolute privilege to, 1, live on your tribal land, 2, to live in a community, and 3, be a part of this, what I say, an ecological and sustainable future. So I think that's what New Zealand offers, because we have a small population, we have a close population. You can't go very far in this country without knowing anyone. There's a beauty in that, and I think there is a real desire, and I would hope it's a desire here for Tāmaki, that we all want to be a really close community. So when I think about Taipei, and I think about other Asian countries, and I think about population, and I think about us, there's no excuse. There is really no excuse. It's just about how much we're prepared to do it and how quick we're all going to put something in to allow it to occur.
Thank you. There's a hand up at the back there. Was somebody else first? Stand up and talk into the microphone.
Hi, my name's Chris. I live in Auckland, and I'm aware it sits between 2 harbours. And sea level rise seems to me to be something that hasn't quite been mentioned here tonight. I'm not to be a sanctimonious 60-year-old, but I actually walk around and bike around the harbour edge here a bit, and I notice how high around the Wynyard Quarter that the water gets on the harbour. And I watch the developments going on down there, the buildings, and I've looked at the plans, and I don't see anything about what we're going to do about wave surge and the sea getting higher. So I was just interested how that factors into these conversations.
Good question. I think that's a question for Jim Quinn, Chief of Strategy.
Yeah, look, it's certainly an issue. I'm involved in a planning exercise somewhere else in the world and just supporting them, and I know they've made the fundamental call, because they're thinking 100 years out at the moment, that they'll turn commercial and residential land into parkland, because they, unlike that part of the world, have decided this time not to engineer their way out of it, and they'll let nature have it back in the 100-year zone. So I think what you'll see is governments in the widest sense of the world really think about this. There's a lot of monitoring happening, certainly a lot of thinking in terms of how close to the tide mark we can be in our unitary plan, and there will be more and more of that as we think ahead. I think you're right, though. I don't think it's a debate that's being had in the community in any structured way yet. It's talked about, people think about it. And I think at the moment people are more concerned about storm surge because that's what they see first. And I think the long-term risk of inundation is something that people will think about. And, you know, some people will say that technology will fix this before we get there. Answering the way Kim asked earlier, I think it would be a brave call to just wait and pray that we can fix it with technology.
So Jim, are you just banking on people going, nah, that's too close to the water, we don't want to rent there or build there? Or is the council going to put strictures down, per se?
I know we think hard about what land we allow to be used, what floodplain risk there is now. The unitary plan covers large tracts of that. I think the concern more is the really long term, and also responding to historical decisions that have been made, maybe not as well informed as we can be now as well. So we're caught in all of those things, and we deal with all of them. But I think, be assured, it's being thought about, it's being planned for. I just don't think we've engaged enough yet, and I don't think we're ready to either.
Martin, did you want to add to that? No. Did somebody else put their hand up out there? Yes. Microphone's on its way.
Kia ora koutou, ka mihi nui ki a koe rangamari. Matty Wall is my name. A question for the panel, as an impatient 65-year-old, 67. How urgent do you think this topic is?
We'll take it from one end and go, no, Rangamari, seize the microphone.
First, Matty, I might not be able to see you, but you look 35, I'm sure. No, look, I think this is critical, and I think this is a very cool conversation to be having here. I think it needs to be wider spread. I think there needs to be a practicality element about what do we do when we get back into the homes. I think it's too obvious in the city of Tāmaki to not be having this conversation. I think about sea level changes. In actual fact, you know, earlier in the year, we were trying to use buckets for a urupa that had gone underwater. Now, this is not, you know, the impact that your ancestors are now underwater because of a whole lot of things does create a level of urgency that isn't about whether a building is going up. It's kind of a lot more fundamental. So I think people are getting it. I think it's critical. I'm just not sure that we're partnering in the right way to get the different results. We partner in the same way and expect exceptionally different results.
Yeah, I think it's urgent, there's no doubt. The problem is it is vast, and I think you can overwhelm yourself. So I think there's stuff that is right now urgent must be done. We need to act. There's stuff that we need to be planning for and doing, and it's broad and it's long, and we need to just keep moving, but we need to have a plan, and so the strategy part of it is key as well.
Stuck in the middle. Just as the new boy in New Zealand, to put one perspective, because I think it's all very urgent, but I heard a very pertinent comment yesterday at a seminar in Wellington where a very prominent lady said that Naitahu started thinking seriously about climate change when they realized their Maunga or Iraqi would be without snow in 25 years.
I think for me, absolutely, it's urgent, and we definitely need a plan, but it needs to be a joined-up plan. There's lots of planning being done in isolation. It needs to be more of a cohesive plan across all agencies, local and central government.
Yeah, I agree. Right, Jim's had alluded to earlier, Auckland has a huge opportunity right now. We are intensifying now. Now is the time to have this conversation, because we're going to be look awfully silly in 25 years' time if we forgot and start sort of, you know, as you say, intensifying right on the edge of the water.
We have a government, by the way. I don't know about that. But anyway, it's New Zealand First and Labour and the Greens. So it's going to be an interesting few months. There was a question over there. Yeah. Microphone coming. Just here.
Okay, this is great. Let's have this conversation. So, where could a city hub for Auckland be that's on higher land that we could start thinking about with transport nodes now?
Oh.
Well, there's acres of land that's well above sea level, so I don't think the where could it be issue is so big. The issue is on the edges, clearly, because we are, as somebody said, surrounded by coast. So, yeah, look, I think it's not about moving wholesale or doing anything in that regard, in my view. It's about thinking through where the risks are and having a managed view over the long term.
Anybody else? No, I mean, that didn't sound terribly urgent, Jim.
Well,
So,
yeah,
with all due respect.
yeah, but it's not. It's important that we talk about it, and it's important that we plan for it. It's not here today, and so we need to be sensible and manage the different aspects of this. I think we've got far more urgent issues right now, and that is the quality of our water, the quality of the air, the plastic bags. There's all sorts of things right now that are real issues for us this minute. That's not to diminish the other ones. I think we just need to step through things in a really clear way and think about when and what we're going to do for those wins.
Okay. Another question? Yep, at the back there. Thank you.
Kia ora, thank you. I did have two questions, but the second one just got a little bit more important. I just wondered, from a government and a local government perspective, what would a Zero Carbon Act mean for you guys, and how would you respond to that from your various departments?
This is a Zero Carbon Act, which, like the UK legislation, would set targets, but they would be zero carbon by, say, 2050, something like that. Is that what you're thinking? I take that as a yes. Anybody commenting?
Well, I think the simple answer is the more targeted we get and the more regulatory it gets, the more we have to make sure we have a plan that achieves that. So I don't think it changes the problem, it just changes the urgency, the need for resource to achieve that, and focuses on that specific thing. And as Vicky said earlier, it is only one of the things. So that's not a bad thing to focus on, but we've got all of these things to focus on, whether it's the quality of our water, our sea, the Gulf, all of those things. Carbon isn't the only issue.
Well, no, but climate change is the existential issue.
Yep,
and if we do have an ongoing Labour, New Zealand First and Greens government, the chances of legislation might appear to be slightly higher than hitherto. Do you think that's a good idea, Vicky?
Well, I think what the targets are in that legislation is going to be quite important. So I noticed that the Green Party has quite a different one from the Labour Party, so we'll see what shakes out of that. I think the underlying thing behind having targets in legislation really gets at the issue that we've had in New Zealand, which is lack of cross-partisan, bipartisan agreement that we need to get on the pathway to climate change. So I think depending what the target is, if you can achieve that through different mechanisms. One of them is having legislative targets. But I think the underlying point of political certainty that we are going to move to action and a pathway towards a low emissions economy is the critical point.
There was another question.
One of us got a clap.
I'm sorry. What? Did you want to say something?
No, I'm just teasing. No. Rangamani.
There was, hand up at the back there.
Kia ora koutou, my name's Anna. I'm just wanting to get your comments on pricing. And what I'm thinking is when we talk about behaviour change, there's only a very small proportion of the population that are interested in doing something drastic for behaviour change. And we can go back to that question about would you stop eating meat. That's a really good example of population at large. So I think behaviour change only does a very small little bit. And then we had comments around from Vicky about, I don't like being told what to do, because if I'm told what to do, I don't want to do it. And then Helen was talking about with a CRL and that creates a crisis which then forces you to make different decisions, and you're not exactly making a sacrifice, you're just trying to make the best decision given the situation that's there. So what I'm wanting to understand from you is, what are your thoughts about pricing in order to affect behaviour change, which maybe isn't so much about sacrifice, it's just about making decisions with the situation that you have?
I think if I lead, I'm involved in the view of any view of whether we institute congestion charging, and you'll know that came out of the Auckland Transport Alignment program. I think there's no doubt that pricing designed well can influence behaviour. It's also clear that pricing designed badly or too blunt a club will almost always have unintended consequences. So I think the key thing is, do I think pricing is a place? It's one of the tools. It's got a great place. It will drive behaviours. Just be really sure you want the outcome you designed for. And that's the work we're working through in that one area now, but there's no doubt there are other parts, ETS type things have their place as well, and they'll work best if they're comprehensive and really have the right behaviours driven.
You've got to be so careful with pricing, because pricing definitely can be a lever to influence behaviour, but be so careful to provide alternatives, to provide the alternative you actually want to encourage the use of, or you actually just introduce inequality and make it harder for people who are already struggling to get from A to B or to do whatever it is that they need to do. So there have to be alternatives. And sometimes it has to be a conversation about, New Zealand Inc., Auckland Inc., subsidising the amenity for people to transfer to.
Mm-hmm. I think the other thing is price is a very important lever for how people make choice, because that's what it is about. But also, the time, the quality of the experience, and the environmental sustainability of the choices that you're making are also important drivers. We need to make sure people are informed around how they play out as well, around not just pricing in isolation.
There's a question here, and we'll need to make it the last one. So make it a very good one, no pressure.
I'll try my very best. Bolovinaka, everyone. I'm Siteri Tikova. I'm from Fiji. I represent Nature Fiji Marangetiviti, Fiji's only local membership conservation NGO. And of course, as a conservation NGO, I will always try to make you think about nature and other species that make our place our home. First question. I hear that there are so much efforts towards technological solutions. What are you doing about encouraging natural solutions? Nature has a way of fixing itself if you enable it to, and I'm just wondering if there'd be more efforts towards this, natural solutions.
Could you be more specific about what you're thinking?
As natural solutions? Reforesting areas that are degraded, better land use management, maybe thinking, being careful about our pesticide use, all of those factors. And another thing about pricing, very interesting to hear, the issues, change in behavior and sacrifice. I just wanted to remind you that in Fiji, it's great that you get to choose whether to eat meat or not. In Fiji, in the Pacific, we get to lose our homes. And if that's not a big enough price, I don't know what is.
Thank you. It's a fair point. The natural solution, I don't know whether the panel think that things have gone too far for that. I don't think the natural solutions are being ignored per se. We aware, it comes back to land use, of course, doesn't it?
Yeah, but they're not being. I think the million trees is part of using nature more, the urban forest program. So there's a range of things. Look, as we've said all night, I just don't think there's a single answer. We have to do everything to reverse what's been done, to continue to develop more, and we need to think both about what's in the now and long, because there's no silver bullet here.
Sorry, Vicky.
I just want to say thank you for sharing and just reminding us that there are impacts outside of New Zealand that are really severe than what we're currently experiencing. There's a Trees That Count initiative too at the moment that had a aim of having 4.7 million trees in the ground over this last year, and they've put in 8 million trees over this last year, so that's pretty phenomenal. There's also some amazing work that's going on around Motoranga Māori and learning off our own cultural heritage about how you might think about preserving and conserving and making decisions about nature. So I think those are, and bringing in some of those indicators into our decision making, and some of that is actually coming through in terms of the reporting that we're doing with stats. So I think those are good starts for us.
Thank you, and thank you for that as well. I think that it's easy to think that it's all about us, and although we are a small country, as we've been hearing tonight, we can exemplify something that may, who knows, embarrass or encourage or shame others into doing similar things. I quoted the sainted Al Gore earlier as going from, or warning against going from, denial to despair in one easy step. And I think that the conversation we've had tonight proves that there is a stop between those two. Given the stats, we'd all be forgiven for heading for despair. But, you know, if the problem is so great and we have to change so much about how we do things, it's all impossible. But maybe it is about the journey and not the destination. Maybe there is no destination. Maybe it's the collective striving that will be sufficient. It's about demonstrating willingness and commitment, and there will be, we talk about tipping points in terms of the climate. You know, is it too late? Is it too late? Well, we could have a tipping point here in Auckland. We could have a tipping point beyond which people would be unable not to do something constructive, whether it be constructive within their own community or constructive within New Zealand. Our most recent governments, of course, have found it too hard to stick to their own targets, and they've taken a less than urgent approach to climate change. Can New Zealanders act without a government mandate? Well, I think the conversation tonight has shown that we can. And besides, we've had a government for several weeks. We haven't had one at all. So it kind of puts the relevance of the government in perspective. I want to thank our speakers, Vicky Robertson and Liz McPherson earlier, and Vicky, of course, on the panel as well, with Rangi Marie and Helen and David and Martin and Jim. Thank you to the audience here as well as online, and to the sponsors and supporters of Auckland Conversations. Next up, by way of an advertisement, Wednesday, November the 15th, the topic, Creating Safe Streets for Auckland, and it features Dr. Matsake Berlin, who's a project leader for Vision Zero Academy. And if you keep an eye on the Auckland Conversations website, you can get more details in advance. Thank you all for coming tonight, and enjoy the rest of your evening.